edition of the Ad Podcast. We've got a really fun guest for you guys today. We're going to be talking about UGC and LinkedIn influencing and the fact that everybody's a creator now. Isha Patel is the co-founder and CEO of Kale, which is kalecard.com for the URL, a New York-based startup platform that lets everyday social media users, super fans, not just big influencers, earn cash rewards for sharing authentic content about brands they love, like Rare Beauty, Glossier, Sweetgreen, and Chili's. She's previously worked at LinkedIn, where she met her co-founder, Louis Molina, and she graduated from UC Berkeley and has been recognized on Inc.'s 2025 Female Founder 500 list for scaling the company and tripling revenue. Kale focuses on turning genuine advocacy into scalable marketing for brands. Isha, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with our audience.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. Super excited to be here.
Let's go. So let's maybe start out a little bit about, how you came to start Kale. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, where did you grow up, what did you study, and how did you find your way into tech and the media industry?
Let's do it. So I grew up in Southern California and went to UC Berkeley for undergrad. During my time at UC Berkeley, I was in exploration mode. I worked at some nonprofits. I interned in investment banking. I tried out consulting. I did some YC startups and really eventually fell in love with tech startups and how quickly things could be built and scaled. From there, I was also shadowing my older brother, who is an entrepreneur in the social media space. So he was super excited about what early days Facebook could do in terms of sports media and sports memes. So long story short, we had a lot of meme pages going. He was running the show and I was a little sister that got to shadow, which was really exciting. And my first experience and exposure into social media feeds and growth hacking and virality. So from college, I went to LinkedIn and eventually moved around a couple different teams and landed in New York City to go out and build and launch video for the platform. So this was back in 2017. And the only things that you could do on the LinkedIn feed included writing a post, 500 words as an article, or sharing an image. So our team was tasked with, how do we bring this new format that is new age, it's exciting, anyone with a phone can do it, onto this platform where work conversations were happening. So I was lucky enough to be sat next to Luis, who was leading up the engineering team. I was on the product team. And together we started figuring out how to build and scale video products. So that was everything from feed video to the camera, creative tools, ads, analytics, and now video on the feed, as I'm sure you're very well familiar, is 25-30% of dwell time on the LinkedIn feed. So during our time at LinkedIn, the name of the game was, how do you build online viral communities around companies that people love to work for? So whether it's General Mills or Pepsi or Salesforce, how do you start to expose that company culture, employee moments, and just how awesome it is to talk about the new products and experiences that an employee is having at those workplaces? So around 2020, 2021, we were taking a page from that playbook as we started exploring short form content. So on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, creators were starting to post quick 20, 30 second videos. And it was really interesting to understand who was doing that. And so as we started talking to these creators, the first thing they said to us was, hey, actually, I'm not a creator. You should go talk to someone else. I was like, you have hundreds of videos on your TikTok. What's going on? And they said, I'm a student or I have a full-time job, but I just love talking about yoga or coffee or making dance videos with my friends. So that was really, really interesting and very counterintuitive to what we were hearing from Silicon Valley and press and media, where everyone on social media wanted to be an influencer. So that's where we got our start. That was our insight. And then obviously went down the road of understanding what brands wanted.
I love it. That's really cool. Well, if you don't mind, I have to stay a little bit with your LinkedIn time because I don't know if you know this, but the primary platform that we program to is our LinkedIn following. So I use a platform to go live across all platforms, but my biggest following is my 32,000 followers on LinkedIn. This is ultimately a B2B podcast. And, early on when I first launched the show, and I started seeing, that you would get push notifications when you went live and it would show up in your activities. Like that was a pretty interesting insight for me. And, I launched the podcast not to be Joe Rogan, but to, build community and meet interesting people like within a B2B context. And LinkedIn is the B2B social platform. So I'm just curious, like, I think I'm an anomaly as far as somebody that streams to LinkedIn or thinks of LinkedIn as like a primary audience. But did you guys ever think about the live stream aspect? And I know the normal limitation is you can't post a 15-minute video unless or it has to be 15 minutes or shorter in order to post on LinkedIn. So going live and streaming is essentially a hack for that. But just kind of curious if you guys really ever gave much thought to like long form podcasting on LinkedIn and if that's a thing or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I left LinkedIn about 5 years ago, but I'll tell you the
Yeah.
conversations that were happening then. Podcasting, very, very interesting. At the core of the content strategy for LinkedIn, it was always about work conversations. So your podcast is a really great example of wanting to keep up to date with the industry, understanding what marketers are doing, and this belongs on LinkedIn. So during our time, LinkedIn Live was launched, and we had some phenomenal first use cases of that platform, including something that was shocking to me, which was live streaming the Louis Vuitton fashion show on LinkedIn. That was one of the first live streams. And then the live streaming teams really started to build out and scale after my time there.
Got it. Yeah. Well, it's definitely an interesting, modality for me to use. And it seems like the videos that actually get more views are the ones that are, the 60-second clips from the podcast that then get posted. And some of them occasionally will, make their way into the video feed.
LinkedIn is a social platform that people don't feel guilty about being on during the workday.
Yeah,
so
you kind of
I'm
have
a
to
big
have it.
proponent of podcast live streaming. Let's watch the whole hour-long thing on there.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, that's awesome. Well, hopefully a lot of people will follow suit and watch this podcast on LinkedIn today.
Mm.
All right. So maybe bring me up to, so did you go from LinkedIn straight over to Kale or was there anything else in between?
Yep. So went from LinkedIn to Kale. Luis, my co-founder, and I left on the same day because we were really passionate about figuring out why these content creators were posting. Because when talking to them, it became very, very apparent that they were genuine fans of their coffee machine or the yoga mat they were using or their smoothie blender. And that was an audience that brands nor the industry were even talking about or trying to reach out to. Influencers and social media celebrities became prevalent in 2010 and 2012 at the rise of Instagram. So you had these beauty influencers, and there were five of them, then there were 50, then 1,000, then 5,000. And that's when the oversaturation of influencers really happened, and you saw this backlash from consumers. So, yep, we left LinkedIn, and the next Monday we started our journey with Kale, which started with this consumer insight, and then we started talking to brands, and it was quite interesting because they all said, hey, my CMO is telling me I need to figure out a social strategy. And it was 2021. I needed to figure out a TikTok strategy. And these marketers were at a loss. They said, in the past, I've hired an in house content creator or an influencer that I work with over the quarter. I just can't sustain the amount of content that a platform like TikTok's algorithm needs. What do I do? And while influencers were tedious and expensive, both time wise and budget wise, it felt like the only option for brands at the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it sounds like you started Kale really with that insight that like influencers were becoming prevalent and kind of oversaturated in certain categories. consumers started to get banner blindness to influencer posts because when they saw sponsored posts, they knew it was for pay, and they knew that influencers, they might like the product, they might not, they might just be doing it for, compensation. And the other thing is, a lot of influencers, at least in the Instagram days, it was very glossy, it was very highly produced, it was still very like, Instagram versus TikTok. And then, like you said, when TikTok pops off, now it's kind of created universal ubiquitousness of people being able to shoot and film things. And now people are just putting on, stuff that they actually like and they actually use interspersed with their dance videos or funny things with their friends. So these are essentially more authentic, endorsements. I hate using that word, but there's no replacement for the word authentic from time to time. So really, you're picking up on this insight of user-generated content versus influencers. And then there's also this new trend that, the follower count isn't as important as it used to be. All these TikToks started the algorithm-based economy versus the follower-based economy. All of a sudden you needed lots and lots of content to feed that algorithmic, beast essentially. And to see the same person, if you hired an in-house creator to say the same person pop up on 6 or 7 videos might get boring, or maybe you can't identify with that person. So you need more and more people to, have a diversified content feed that doesn't look the same all the time. So it sounds like you guys were picking up on a pretty interesting insight. So what did you think about the business model? So these people are already creating content. They're not doing it to get paid. So what is the incentive to like make a more formalized relationship with brands and the UGC creators? What's the value proposition for both sides?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, on the brand side, what Kale does is we are a rewards platform that enables them to connect and activate their most loyal fans to post on social media along the key marketing moments that matter to them. So, it is not as specific as, hey, here's my ChatGPT influencer brief, Dylan. Go read off of it verbatim because you could be an amazing video actor for me and my brand. It's saying, we're DoorDash, and for the month of February, we're focused on Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl. Kale, can you go activate my super fans along these moments? That's the level of art direction that the brands get. And at
Mm,
the end of the day, brands are businesses. So what they're noticing with all of this noise on social media from organic posting is it's really scattered and it's really random. And if you're a CPG brand, maybe someone's talking about your product that is no longer sold or your product that is with the old packaging. So what we help brands do is have these high level top line marketing priorities, and we activate and rally their super fans along those themes and trends.
I love that. So essentially, you're taking the fragmented, disparate, organic, social moments that are kind of all over the place. It might not even have a brand tag. The only thing that the algorithm is picking up is either they said the brand or maybe they saw a logo or something like that. And you're creating uniformity because you're organizing it under key marketing moments, but you're also kind of swelling to those, those time frames as well. So you're having not just a bunch of stuff all over through the year, but you're having it all in a particular month around 2 major marketing temples.
Exactly. And we are an always on strategy for brands. For example, when DoorDash isn't focused on these tentpole moments, in March, they're going to go back to we're an app for more than just food. You can go get anything delivered on DoorDash. Those are the evergreen moments that matter to a brand like DoorDash. Whereas for Anthropologie, obviously every season there's a new wardrobe that they're trying to promote, and they start to always tout that home decor and home goods are something that they should be known as the destination for as well. So this evergreen strategy allows consumers to continue to participate in the normal way that they want to with the brand and then earn rewards. So to your point, yes, they weren't always tagging. There would be a yoga mat, but they would never tag the brand Free People Movement within it. So for a marketer who is trying to understand their social landscape, it was often not showing them their true fans. So for an Anthropologie who was a partner of ours very early on, I was shocked to know how small their social media team was. It was less than 5 people running this massive organization and saying, hey, we need help with TikTok. We need help with content. How can we just get all these people that we know are obsessed with anthropology into the pipeline? Because if we do it on our own, we have to cut it down and focus on 3 influencers a quarter. And guess what? We get 3 videos at the end of it. And to your earlier point around follower counts and measuring success for Kale, because we're a rewards app that is enabling brands to go live across so many different accounts at the same time, we're really focused on share of voice. How can we increase share of voice for brands like Chili's all the way to Notion through customer voices? And it's been really, really stunning to see how brands are hyper focused now on being the first 3 videos that show up on Beauty Talk instead of having 10 million impressions, because guess what? On TikTok, an impression just means that the video loaded on your phone, Dylan. It doesn't mean that you watched it, you engaged with it. It's a vanity metric that people are really trying to move away from. It's the old guard. The new guard is engagement rate.
I love that. And you also talked about super fans. So what qualifies a super fan? How do you identify them and how do you recruit them to a brand campaign?
Yeah, great question. There's a number of different ways that we activate and identify a brand superfans. The first is actually through the brand. So the brand will go out to their customer email list, to their social following, to folks that are DMing them and emailing them and say, hey, we have a creator community. If you love buying from us, posting for us, you can join Kale and get rewarded for it now. And you know what the funny part is, which just tells you that they're true super fans? The recognition from a brand is way more important to them than the reward. Yes, the reward matters, but this is similar to an influencer who needs brand deal after brand deal after brand deal to make ends meet to pay their rent check. A mom or a student or a full-time girl that lives in the city, she's making her income somewhere else, and she has 2 or 3 weekends free where she's making content about her day and featuring her coffee or featuring her favorite skirt, and it's that additional incremental income that's coming her way. But when she gets a response or a repost from free people, that's when her day is absolutely made. So the recognition that we're able to facilitate matters a ton. So to go back to identifying super fans, the brands have identified who their customer list is and outreach to them. And then on our end, we have linked credit cards and receipt uploads to additionally understand who's spending at these brands, and we match make them.
That's interesting. So you're using kind of like the fetch model where you're actually looking at their transaction purchases either through scanning receipts or credit card linking or using the file with point of sale. So it's not just super fans from the perspective that they create content. They're actually customers of the brand.
100%. And that has been extremely important to us. We are approaching brands who are used to gifting product after product to these influencers. Influencers get a script, they read off of it, and everyone in the comments is backlashing the brand for paying another influencer. Instead, on Kale, we say, put your money where your mouth is. If you really love Cocoyo, great, go to Whole Foods, pick it up and make a recipe from it, and then we'll reward you. So that also aligns incentives for the right types of people to be posting the content.
Yeah, you just brought up the idea of like retail media as well. You know, you have all these companies like Walmart and Target and Sephora launching their own retail media networks and selling media. But you guys have an interesting superpower, which is being able to tie back to point of sale. So do you ever activate on behalf of a brand and say, hey, we actually want you to not only buy the brand, but we want you to buy it at Sephora, or we want you to buy it at Target, or we want you to buy it at this new channel partner that we've established? Like, do you ever think of it in the framework of like shopper media in that way?
That is an extremely big use case for us. Brand gets into Whole Foods, wants to impress their Whole Foods retailers, wants to get the free end cap, wants to be in the good graces of the retailer. So what we say is, hey, Kaba's hummus is now sold at Whole Foods. Go to Whole Foods and during your grocery haul, pick up the Kaba hummus and show us the snack that you're making after school. And that content in floods is so impressive to the retailer. So especially for all of our CPG, for all of our beauty brands that sell within Sephora, Ulta, Target, it is one of the challenges, aka the video prompt that is always live. And in fact, we work with retailers now as well. So we work with Aldi, we work with Vitamin Shop, we work with Sephora, and it becomes this really nice pendulum where the retailers obviously want the brands selling within their stores to co-market their logo, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you talked about the recruitment process. So you're not necessarily in there spamming, sending emails and sending DMs. It's more of a pull process. So you're recruiting them at, when they sign up for or buy something in e-commerce and you get an email address. You've got an affiliate tab probably on the website where they can
Mm-hmm.
fill out a form and become a member. They're putting out call to actions on social. So really the idea is like you're not kind of spamming the creator community or like individual users by emailing and getting in their DMs. You're kind of waiting for that touch point or that purchase point as the opportunity to recruit.
We want to see the intent.
Yeah.
And to further explain why we're able to be so picky about the go-to-market for creators is we're very curated about the brands that we take on our platform. It needs to be a brand with an existing community. They need to have distribution so that someone can walk into a Walmart and pick it up. And most importantly, they need to have brand equity. We're not in the business of starting with a brand that started yesterday and has no fans. Once people have fallen in love with your product, you have super fans. That's where we come in and we can supercharge that for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it sounds like the brands kind of own the relationship with their creators or their network of super fans. And you're not just building this database that can then be leveraged across categories or the entire ecosystem. Like every brand truly owns their community of creators, and that's not being sold off to the next highest bidder.
Correct. And what has happened is there's really natural cross-pollination. Someone comes in because they love Vita Coco. Guess what? They're also shopping at Free People and they're also having a gym membership at Planet Fitness. So there's really nice synergies where every single brand joining the platform does have network effects on the creator side and vice versa. Every single day we have creators that are coming to us and saying, hey, we really, really love this brand. Can you get them on the platform? That becomes really sustainable and exciting outreach for us to be able to go to that brand and say, hey, we already have your customers here. All you have to come in is all you have to do is come in and tell us, hey, for the month of Feb and March, these are the types of videos that I'd love to create and have in the masses on social media.
So you probably have a couple of different business models, I would imagine. There's kind of the media side where you can quantify reach, impressions, engagements, comments, the vanity metrics that we talked about, but are still relatively important for brands that need scale. But then you're also being able to tie back to sales. And then there's also the content usage of being able to get a piece of content that can then go over to your social media feed, but also be used in digital and maybe even advertising. So can you talk a little bit about the different business models that a brand can implement in order to leverage these creators for, the interesting Swiss Army knife that they are, right? Their media, their content, their sales, they're a little bit of everything. So how do you create business models to, compensate the brands and get compensation from the brands for the creators and you make money in the middle?
So when you look at Kale for a second as a marketer, you're like, oh, cool, it's content. And when you dig into UGC or another term that we've been using internally, human generated content, these are humans that love your brand. They're generating content for you at scale. What you're actually paying for as a brand is the reputation and identity of someone to put that brand on their profile to their closest friends and family. So the resulting chatter is what's most important to a brand. So when we think about KPIs and success metrics, first and foremost, it's that share of voice. How do we capture a ton of people and a lot of authentic, real engagement from your next generation of consumers? So that's our top of funnel business model. And something that's been extremely exciting to brands is TikTok SEO. 74% of Gen Z and millennials now use TikTok instead of Google to look up a restaurant, to check out the latest beauty tips. And really, at the end of the day, it's where opinions about products and brands are being shaped.
Plan
So,
vacations.
100%. I have
Yeah.
not searched on Google in the last year. um, Restaurants in New York, vacations I want to take, cleaning supplies, everything. So TikTok SEO has been really, really interesting. And to your point around taking this noise and this fragmentation and creating lanes for the brand, for Olipop, 1 in every 2 videos when you search gut talk on TikTok is an Olipop video generated by a Kale user who's one of their super fans. So top of funnel share of voice, TikTok SEO is really, really important to us. And currently, we're building out our product suite to really amplify that sales funnel that obviously growth marketers and performance marketers are really excited about.
You talked about this idea of kind of growth hacking the For You page or,
Mhm.
X talk within TikTok and all these different hashtags. And you've seen lifts of up to 8 to 10% engagement rates. Why does dominating hashtags or the For You page increase engagement as well?
So the platforms are in control of distribution. What
Mm,
we can do as an in between the brand and the creator is really something that isn't very intuitive to folks, which is how do we generate the content strategy that's interesting to the third party, which is the viewer of the content. So obviously there needs to be alignment between the brand needs to have a topic that's interesting for the creator to share, but it doesn't stop then. You have to go the extra distance, do the mental gymnastics of, is this interesting content to watch? So as we think about virality being redefined, the FYU page is really, really interesting for saves and shares as the main metrics of engagement. And obviously the comments. The comments are the most interesting part about TikTok. So the algorithms are prioritizing things that you're going to go send around to your friends, both on the platform and off the platform. And I think that's where the shareability factor really feeds into how virality is being redefined through engagement metrics.
yeah, that's interesting. Um, in the world of AI content creation, I've been clicking on my TikTok a little bit less these days because I go on there and it's like, there's AI videos everywhere. It's not as
Mm-hmm.
authentic as it once was. The AI videos were interesting for a minute, but now it's getting a little crowded. How do you think about leveraging these communities offline? For instance, like experiential marketing is becoming more important than ever for brands in real life, getting these micro communities together to create content at scale at a moment, like you talked about the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. How do you think that cultural shift around, people wanting to experience and run into brands in the real world are becoming important? And can you leverage these communities for in real life opportunities as well?
Absolutely. IRL is becoming so important in a marketer's stack. When you think about AI videos, there's going to be a world in which there's going to be entertainment AI video apps, and you'll have the mind space when you're clicking into the app of, hey, I want to be in this kind of like galactic celestial world with like crazy videos that AI is generating. I think that's the right use case for AI. Our superpower is humans and that connection that we're able to breed between the brands and individuals. So for us, we actually hosted about 15 IRL events in New York City alongside brand partners like Urban Outfitters, like the Frenary brands, who own Haagen-Dazs, Outshine, Drumstick, etc. And so it's been really awesome to hear from the brands, hey, Kale, you have all of my super fans. Can we do something with them IRL? And so we have a really awesome person on our team, Lance, who runs events and experiential with our brand partners. And the core of that is building a brand is only as strong as how your community views your brand. An IRL connection, whether it's with field marketers, shopper marketers, experiential photo booths, just creates the space for a community member to have a tangible moment with your brand and a tangible moment with other people who are so interested and like-minded in the brand as well. So for experiential, we have a lot of exciting partnerships with our existing brands this year to take that 15 events and do 30 or 50 this year.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Um, so there's a thought leader out there. I won't say his name, but he is harping at every conference that I see him at around brands who are creating content in a vacuum and not testing things on organic social first as the first stop point for proving if something is going to work and whether it's worthy of being an ad, are basically just flushing money down the toilet. Like the traditional, you go to your ad agency, they create some big TV commercial, and then that gets leveraged as your Facebook ad or your Instagram ad. And then it gets no engagement because it looks like TV. It doesn't look like the content that's on the platform. It's basically a waste of money. Are you guys working with paid media teams to identify which pieces of content are performing the best and then hooking into those and then using that as the paid media asset that the brand gets to amplify and put more juice behind?
Yep, that's spot on. We work primarily with the organic social team. That team understands the heartbeat of their community, what resonates with the next generation of consumers, and they have really interesting ideas of what this playground of content can look like. Once we launch a challenge and we get hundreds of videos back, we can start to understand, how did this video perform organically? And oftentimes we then have the paid media team coming in and saying, hey, I would have actually never thought of this creative concept, but this super fan who eats Starburst every single day of the week nailed it. And I love her energy. She fits the vibe. Can we go deeper with her? So we have that functionality on the platform, which is really exciting. But what this whole experiment has taught us and the paid marketers is you don't really know what you want when you sit down to write a script. And the five of us can sit here all day around a boardroom and discuss and debate what's going to make the perfect ad asset. Again, the platforms are in control. Let's let them tell us organically what's getting picked up. And I think the strategy for the brands that have been open-minded and experimental, it's been groundbreaking for them, because quality of an asset is highly debatable. Some people need it to be HD. Some people need it to be funny. Some people don't care if there's perfect lighting. Some people need a really aesthetic, natural lighting floating on half of the creator's face. And so when put to the test, the organic stats tell you what's important, what's not important. And it's always very humbling to the paid teams to run an asset that maybe doesn't have the perfect lighting, maybe doesn't have the perfect, most eloquent description of your product, but it worked and it sells,
Yeah.
and it's giving you so much engagement CTR compared to your extremely polished video that you probably paid 100 times more for.
It's crazy, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense that people would, engage with things in feed, whether they were paid or not, if they looked like the rest of the content on the platform that they care to see, right? All right, let's talk about a full circle moment for you. Kale recently expanded to LinkedIn, which, given your roots there and the idea of the rise of, super fans of B2B brands, I just was at a conference this week. I told two different people that I met about a sales tool that I use called Vendalux. I signed up for their little affiliate link and I get like a ham sandwich or something if somebody buys the $20,000 product. But the reality is, in the B2B world, there are super fans of tools and technology and things that people have gotten real value from. And as marketers, we want to share those with our friends. Can you talk a little bit about how Kale is approaching B2B and approaching LinkedIn as a new platform to build out this model of the super fan?
Before I jump into LinkedIn, because I want to talk about that, your example of being a super fan, signing up for an affiliate, and getting a ham sandwich is why we started Kale. The average person doesn't even know that there's an affiliate program, right? So
Yeah.
if I am a really big fan of the black t-shirt company, I'm not going to go to their website only to get, I don't know, 5% kickback. I have better things to do with my time.
Right.
So that reminded me of an anecdote that we would share with our creators of we just want to make it easy, right? Go spend wherever you want to spend and talk about whatever you want to talk about, and we'll make it right for you because these brands want to recognize you.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really cool.
so LinkedIn has been really, really exciting. It's where work conversations are happening. You see that they're investing a lot within the content ecosystem, and there's a rise of B2B creators on other platforms, right? So you see the day in the life of me, the product manager, or come with me as I do my robotics internship. All those moments on TikTok are really educational, really exciting, and reduces the gatekeeping of what is it actually like to have a job like X, Y, and Z. And so LinkedIn obviously is very interested, invested in bringing those conversations onto the platform from everyday people. So our route into it was we don't want people sharing their favorite lipstick on LinkedIn. That doesn't match the context or the environment. But people want to learn from you, Dylan, on entrepreneurship or marketing or tools. What's the AI tool that makes you more efficient during podcasting? Things like that you have credibility over within this realm and this sphere of your life. So we've been working with our brand partners like Notion and Miro and Trello and Loom to activate their super fans in the real estate and the context that just makes sense for work and productivity conversations and digital organization. So that's where we're starting. And we're super excited because the next chapter is employee generated content. So going
Mm.
back to the roots of, I really love working at X, Y, and Z company. Think of any sales tool. Um, the best people to be talking about your sales tool is your sales team that's selling that. Very, very meta, but those people are highly incentivized to go talk about your product. And guess what? They're going to talk about it right because they're trained. So more and more as I have these conversations um, with corporations that have a really engaged employee community, employees are the next influencers for them after customers. You see Delta and Starbucks and gyms hiring 20, 30 people within their staff to be their employee advocates on social media. That again is where influencer for consumer brands, CPG, beauty, et cetera, was 5, 10 years ago. So that space is going to catch up, and LinkedIn is the perfect place to be having those employee conversations.
I love it. You guys did a rebrand at one point, I think. Why'd you land on Kale? What does it mean? I'm always a big fan of B2B branding and kind of the backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've always been Kale since day one.
Okay,
And the reason
I
we
had a note
picked,
for something called Pair X at some point. Was that
so
I don't.
Parix is actually the first VC that put money into us. So we
Oh,
were
got it.
Kale and
Okay,
Pear.
got
Made
it.
for a really good emoji
A good
combination on
a,
LinkedIn.
a good salad.
Yes. So we were always Kale from day one. We wanted a name that was short, trendy, ideally green related because we were working on creator monetization. And so as we thought through different names, and it's funny when you're starting a business, the last thing you think about is a name often, but when you're thinking about starting a business, you always think, oh, the name is probably the most important thing. But when you get into the thick of it, it always becomes an afterthought. So as we started thinking about releasing our product, we were like, oh man, we should have a name. And Kale used to be slang for money back in the day. So it
Oh,
all
interesting.
it
I didn't
all
know
worked
that.
out, and we're going after kind of this TikTok audience of women. Kale was very trendy amongst them, so we tell our creators to go get that kale, and it's landed really nicely amongst both creators and brands.
I love that.
And then we did
So,
have a
got it.
rebrand, which was a visual rebrand
Okay,
that we launched a couple of weeks ago at the start of the year.
amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the creator economy is moving really fast. And I think the biggest change is this move to AI content. Do you guys have a strategy to reward creators that are making content with AI versus kind of just, traditional content creation? And will AI content creation be something that you think UGC creators will be able to participate in these types of economies?
We're focused on humans, so no AI content creation allowed here. We have a number of guardrails in place. In fact, a lot of brands come to us, and that's the first question. They're like, "Hey, we don't want to work with AI bots or influencers. We want to work with real people. Can you confirm you have real people?" So that's really our superpower, and we're sticking to that. You're more likely to buy something from your sister, your neighbor, your roommate than um, a random influencer on the internet, and now an AI influencer who's never tasted the product themselves.
Yeah, that's a great insight. I think as AI becomes more ubiquitous, there will be a premium on human content that comes attached to a human community of real friends and real relationships versus digital fans and digital relationships.
And that's where the in real life event planning and experiential really gets amplified.
Yeah, I can imagine. So there are a lot of people out there who don't see themselves as a creator, or they're scared to take that first step to, put their mind out on LinkedIn, or they have always had it in the back of their head that they'd love to be a mom blogger, but they're afraid with
Mhm.
their sorority sister that they knew 15 years ago will think about them on Instagram. What's one piece of advice that you could give to someone who's a huge fan of a brand, but they don't see themselves as a creator? What could get them started earning rewards on Kale?
It's always scary. The first video that you post on social to an unconnected group of individuals, so not just the 5 friends that you let into your Instagram following, can be scary. So it's a very valid feeling. There are a lot of people that are curious, they're interested, and what we have found from our user research sessions with creators is it's actually feels really safe to do that on TikTok because it's unconnected discovery, and it's not necessary that every single person within your Instagram following, for example, is going to see your post. So it's no there's no secret sauce here. You got to rip the band-aid off. But once you get a feeling of, okay, I was true to myself. I'm talking about a brand that really helped my kid, or I really just love winding down my week with X, Y, and Z product. It's something that you're genuinely passionate about, and you're going to reap the benefits, and not just the monetary benefits from the brand paying you, but the comments and the connection that you're going to get and find. And it's really like this feeling of loneliness that people are trying to combat on social media. So if I really love hiking, but I live in New York City and I have no friends that enjoy hiking, how can I find those communities on TikTok or Reddit or even LinkedIn if I'm interested in a work related topic that I don't have friends who are experienced in that field with? So that's where we get a lot of folks coming to us and saying, I actually want to meet the other Kale creators because I'm the only person within my community that is actually making content. So that was a big play that we had last year of actually just pulling in our users so that they could feel a sense of camaraderie. So another piece of advice I have is try to find someone else. It might not be someone in your friend group that's going through it as well.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Well, I could see you guys showing up at VidCon or something and having like a user hangout or something.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned TikTok is now becoming the ubiquitous search engine for Gen Z and younger millennials. Google isn't going quietly into the night. They have implemented high degrees of Gemini search relevancy for YouTube Shorts. How are you guys thinking about YouTube Shorts? Is that part of the platform as well? And how important is that to the AEO conversation, especially in the Google ecosystem?
It absolutely is. So, as a user on the platform, you can post on whatever channel you want to, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and now LinkedIn, and get rewarded for it. We just want to make it easy for you. As a creator, you're juggling so many different platforms, and you explaining your experience setting up the restream and streaming out to all of your different platforms. Imagine if you had to do this 10 times over and upload and deal with that chaos. So that's something that we're watching out for with more and more platforms. Do I want to sit here as a creator and upload to my Pinterest, my Snap? Sephora has creator storefronts now. Home Depot has their own storefront. So we're paying attention to the fatigue that creators are having because all the platforms, they want content. Everyone is in content deficit when they're up and coming and new, like the Sephora creator storefront or Home Depot. So yeah, YouTube is very much within our stock already, and we see people that have their long form presence starting to take swings at short form too.
I love it. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation, Isha. Really excited about what you're building. I'll be cheering from the sidelines and continuing to track your journey. If a marketer or somebody on the show is resonating what we put down today, where would you like to send people to connect with you directly or maybe learn more?
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm still there as an OG employee,
Let's
and
go.
feel free to reach out via the link on our website, kalecard.com/brands.
Beautiful. Well, if you are watching the show for the first time, don't forget to give us a subscribe or a follow. If you're listening to the show, a honest review on whatever platform you happen to be listening on is how we find a larger audience organically. And if there is a brand marketer out there, or maybe an aspiring creator, or just somebody who shops a lot who should be getting some benefit back for all of those swipes of the credit card, share the show with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And with that, I will wish you a great day, Isha. Thanks for coming on and spending some time with our audience today.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. This is great.